Hello everybody, this is CBR Hawk 1, aka Granite Hope, aka Justice McNeil, here to talk about another subject that's been irking me, pertaining to global warming. That's right, there are still people in 2014 that believe that global warming is still a major issue in the world. Even as all the countries that adopted it are pulling out, and all the debates in Congress in the United States are done, there are still liberals who will not let this argument die. Like any other argument, they lose over and over. But specifically, this is going to be about global warming, and I have not shared my thoughts publicly, or I did, but I deleted all my videos, so this is essentially me redoing my position, so here goes. The big liberal argument, all they really have anymore to talk about is a scientific consensus on global warming. There is no scientific consensus, and I will prove that to you in the description below, so please pay attention to that, take notes, and click on the links in the description because you are going to be linked to some peer review and tables from peer review literature showing that no, there is zero consensus on global warming. And a Kasparian once again makes the egregious error, the disgusting error, that she continues and repeats to make, that there is a 97% consensus on global climate change. No, there is not. And I will quote from the paper itself to prove it. Let me pull it up. Quantifying the Consensus on Anthropogenic Global Warming in the Scientific Literature by John Cook. Now, let's go into some background on this. John Cook is the most alarming of the alarmists. He believes global warming is going to destroy the Earth. And not only that, but he is also a non-scientist. He is a blogger, and that is going to lead to some volatility. Now, keep in mind this is peer-reviewed, so it is valid. So we're going to quote from the paper from ipscience.ilp.org. ILP Science, excuse me, sorry. I think I said that right. But anyhow, we're going to go down to table section 3.2, table 4. Percentage of all papers that endorse global warming, 62.7%. Percent of respondents similar, 62.7%. So you may be asking yourself, where's 97%? 97% is excluding all the unknowns. That is, anybody who does not know whether or not climate change is happening is thrown out. So you're left with two positions. You're left with all those that are for and all those that are against. They don't include in that 97.2%, as is quoted from this paper, they don't include the unknowns. You know, to them, it's black and white. It's either you support it or you're against it. This is what I call, in a lot of these arguments, the mob rule. You're for it or you're against it. There's no gray area. There's no complexity. There's no let's wait and see. There's no neutrality. You're for us or you're against us. We can go further into this. This is a table from the paper itself, at least through another version, the non-free version. This is basically quantifying more specifically the positions, because of the 62% that endorse, it's important to realize something. That is the people that believe there's any global warming at all. That does not say humans are the primary cause. So once you get into the specifics of those who endorse, it's only 52% believe that humans are the primary cause. Split right down the middle, pretty much as all rational skeptics will tell you, this is a very split debate. And yeah, I will grant this, that, you know, there are probably more people that believe that humans are the primary cause of global warming. Now, basically, another thing, I wanted to debunk this because this is the primary argument for liberals, so once I stomp this out, it's done. But there's a more fundamental philosophical thing here. There is a logical fallacy called argumentum ad populum. This is an argument that says that the truth of a claim is determined based on the popularity of said claim. Basically, what it boils down to is liberals will try to get around argumentum ad populum by saying that the quote-unquote consensus are going by the evidence. So they say it's an evidence-based argument backed up by expertise. which is absolutely not true. Now, according to Richard Lindzen, citing from the HAD-CRU, the Met Office data, the Met Office temperature data, according to them, global warming has stopped for essentially 20 years. We have not had 1 ounce of warming. You look at the U.S. Hurricane Center from NOAA, you look at their tropical cyclone and hurricane data, no increase, actually a very, very slight decrease in the number of hurricanes, especially hurricanes that have been hitting land. We have not had many major hurricanes, as you can see. We had the couple years, 2005, I think 2006 we had a few, but then it stopped. And then we had like a couple 2010, but that's another thing. Point is, and I'll just touch on this briefly because these debates have been hashed out exhaustively. No change in hurricane data, no change in temperature, no change in drought. The earth has not browned, in fact it has actually greened slightly, proving once again that increased carbon dioxide correlates well to increased plant life, which should happen because carbon dioxide is what plants breathe in. It's their version of oxygen for photosynthesis. See, you can even get deeper in this, and I think this is the debate that a lot of people miss, is that let's just give liberals all their points. Let's say, yes, there is a climate change consensus, 97% based on overwhelming data. I don't know what. Maybe they'll point to, say, temperature over the last, I guess they got to do 50 years now, because 30 years doesn't work so well anymore. But let's just give them the point. Let's just say temperature is rising dramatically and that we are heading for a permanent gradual increase in temperature based on positive feedbacks. You still got to do a couple other things. Now, number one, of course, you got to prove this is all caused by man, which I'm going to give you for the sake of this argument, caused by man, but you also got to prove 2 other things. Number one, you got to prove that the climate change caused by man will be harmful in any way, because don't forget, as I iterated before with the global greening, there are benefits to increased global temperatures and higher concentrations of carbon dioxide. You got to prove that the detriments are greater than the positives to be gained. And the next thing is you have to prove that the net, now that's the key word here, the net cost of global climate change will be greater than the net cost of mitigation as opposed to simple adaptation. Now, mitigation means that you are going to take active steps to stop carbon dioxide and other greenhouse production, and you are going to attempt to reverse the course in some way. You're going to try to reverse the temperature increase. You got to prove that the net cost is going to be greater than adaptation. Adaptation is basically what we're doing now. Where sea level is rising, which global warming does not cause sea level rise. Sea level has been rising for 10,000 years. No amount of mitigation we are going to do is going to change that, because since the Holocene we have been losing ice and sea level has been raising. It's just a fact. The oceans are slowly warming, and they will continue to warm, especially in the deep ocean, until we get to our next ice age, which has to do with very long cycles of precession and Malkovich cycles, all that. You got to prove that the cost of mitigation is less than the cost of the global warming plus the adaptation. And this is where liberals, you get blank stares. You get no answer from them on this particular point, because liberals, they just want to focus on the costs of the global warming. They're not concerned with cost-benefit analysis of the cost of the changes that would have to be had, both on stunted economic growth as well as the upfront costs that would be needed to implement the things that we would need to implement in order to do these things. In fact, you could almost demonstrate that it's not feasible to do what we would be asked to do if we wanted to mitigate this, because this would include completely rehauling instantly without the ability to adapt, rehaul everything into renewable energy sources, which are inefficient, don't store power well, and are unstable. This is why a lot of places are moving toward coal away from solar, wind, tide, all this, because while they're good, I'm all for renewables. Don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not a greasy, pure oil person. I am for renewable energy, but you have to do it sensibly. You have to gradually change over your economy from a fossil fuel based to a quote-unquote sustainable on the basis of energy. I'm perfectly fine with that, but we have to be ready to do it, and these forms of energy need to be able to produce, at least at competitive levels, the amount of power at the efficient cost. I'm especially a fan of plug-in hybrids. I've loved the idea since it was proposed. Plug-in hybrids are absolutely awesome because we can go from a very finite resource in oil to a almost infinite resource in coal that will last many hundreds if not thousands of years. I'm all for that because coal is a lot easier to get to than the oil, which is becoming increasingly expensive with the ways that we are having to extract it, such as fracking, which nobody's a fan of, and tar sands, which I don't know how many people are fans of that, but that's another story. I won't get into it. Anyhow, those are my thoughts on global warming. Thank you. Like, especially comment, subscribe if you like this, and I will be out with another video.